Hi everyone. I have decided to share with you my glass engraving journey. As you can see, the title is Painting with Diamonds. This will be a slideshow, so there are no moving parts to it, and I'm just going to waffle along and tell you a bit about my story. I graduated from my home that oozed art and smelt of turpentine. And that's all the qualifications I have, I'm afraid, having left school, and that was it. My parents both painted, and we just, as children, this was the life, and it was nothing to pick up a paintbrush and paint. I was in Zimbabwe, of course, and my first job after school was air traffic control assistant. I'm a very, very keen golfer, and as you can see, there's a little picture of me on the left as a child, and then I had my two little boys after I had got married in 1984. I painted and painted and painted. I was painting on commission from the age of 13. I haven't painted for ages, actually. It's not something I do very often. All sorts of mediums, but mainly oil. Just after I left school, I went for a very short time, 3 months I think, to the little school of art just outside Harare, where I learnt oils. It was in 1983 that I stumbled across this little magazine article, and I was absolutely blown away. By then I was working at a laboratory supply company, medical and dental as well, and I stumbled across some little diamond points that were sitting in a little box at the back of the cupboard, covered in dust, and I had to buy one. I then got my hands on a book on glass engraving from England, as I had then joined the Guild of Glass Engravers as an overseas member. This book, Glass Engraving Drill Techniques, was fantastic. And then later I bought Glass Engraving, which then covered all the different techniques. My first tool was this little vibro tool, which is very rough and ready and vibrates on the glass, and as you can see, produced, well, quite a rough surface, not even scratching, sort of like a stipple, but very, very rough. You can see a quick glimpse there of my first big dental technician drill, which I bought from the laboratory supply company. I was commissioned for many, many animals. Obviously, being in Africa, the big five were the most popular, and and of course I had a little experience with a real live one there, obviously eyeing out my shoe, I think, licking his lips. You can see two of my really big dental technician flexible drive heavy duty drills, and here I've engraved this fish on the inside of a mirror on the glass before I had it silvered. An amazing, amazing effect. I didn't do it very often though. I had a couple of disasters with this process. So I started to get many, many orders for bulk numbers of glasses, and hand engraving bulk is no fun at all. So luckily I managed to get my hands on a Venturi system gun. We just used builder's pit sand, and I had a vinyl cutter which I cut masks, and as you can see, not a bad result. We would dry the builder's pit sand in the sunshine because I would have bought it from a hardware store, and it was still wet, so African sunshine did the job. I was commissioned to do a large panel, or three in the end, of this particular image. I had to design it for a nightclub in Harare called Tipperary's. They wanted a leprechaun that was a little bit sort of drunk looking, and I repeated this when they created another nightclub somewhere else, same name. And here you can see the panel in situ between the nightclub area and the dining area. I also created the balustrades for the dining room area. Quite a few of them, in fact. All sandblasting were the balustrades, but the obviously my large panel was a combination of sandblasting and hand engraving, and in fact acid etching. I did a lot of large panel work for various places, private homes, pubs, hotels, and you can see I often would work in situ. The middle one, the little circular one, is in a bathroom in a private home. These are on sliding doors of people's homes, a lot of those sort of things in Africa, because it's really hot and the sliding doors are often open during the day, and when they're closed you don't know they're there. So large engravings really made a difference. I even did them along the bottom sometimes for the animals. Anyway, I also was asked to do large doors, sliding doors again, on houseboats on Kariba. And Kariba at the time was the largest man-made lake in the world. I don't think it is anymore. And obviously it is enormous. And so I did several houseboats there. As a golfer, I was commissioned to do a huge amount, and still am commissioned to do a huge amount of glass engraved prizes and awards and presentations. And here you see me with two celebrities, both members of my golf club in Harare. One was Nicky Price and the other Bruce Grobbelaar. Rather an interesting picture. Infamous president we had, Robert Mugabe. I had to do a very, very special presentation to him, and so that is, I should be proud of this picture, but of course he was a bit of a tyrant, and the reason I no longer live in my home. Marketing in Zimbabwe was interesting, and we go right back to 1990, where I had my first radio interview with a lady that used to play badminton with my parents. Her name was Gwen Roberts, bless her. And oh goodness gracious, I did lots and lots of fairs, wedding expos and that sort of thing to put my name out there. And my first actual premises after working from home for many, many years, having got divorced, this was a garage at an industrial park. Very rough and ready, but was perfect for the job. I loved my little scooter, and of course all my sandblasting I used vinyl, and I created the vinyl stickers for my scooter. Sadly, the day came I had to leave Zimbabwe, and I came literally with a rucksack, a few clothes, a little laptop and a micromotor, and a camera and my mobile phone, my British passport, and that was it. And for 18 months I made coffees. I was lucky enough to be asked to tell my story about where I'd come from and why, and the devastation and having lost everything. And so I was really lucky. That really helped with getting the word out about what I do. I was also very lucky to be featured in some books and magazines, quite prestigious books. The Book of Forgotten Crafts was a fantastic book, as was the Book of Lettering. I have a piece of glass in the collection of the late Dan Klein and Alan Poole, and that features in their book of the collection as well. Having been a member of the Guild of Glass Engravers since 1983, I was delighted to finally be able to attend Guild conferences, AGMs and lectures. I also served on the council for a couple of years. I was able to also exhibit some of my pieces in Guild exhibitions that happen every couple of years, and I still try and and put pieces of work into exhibitions. But I find I really am too busy to be much involved with the guild anymore. But it is still going along. I still play my golf, of course, got very involved and was extremely honoured to be asked to be captain in 2015, which was the Silver Jubilee year of the club, which is Halesworth Golf. We did have fun. In the middle you'll see my efforts for my Lady Captain's Day, where we all let our hair down and had fun. I did manage to go down to Westdean College a couple of times and do a little weekend workshop where we experienced various types of engraving, the copper wheel, the stipple, and it was great fun to meet some other engravers. And yeah, Amanda Cale and I used to write to each other, so it was lovely to finally meet her. Yeah, this is the second little weekend workshop that I had at Westdean, where Tracy Shepherd was teaching us drill engraving. Absolutely magnificent place is Westdean College, worth looking up. So this was my effort in stippling. These are my two sons, of course, and it did take quite a long time. It's a little bit rough. It's a very, very difficult technique. You can see I've got a tungsten carbide point, which I'm tapping on the glass. And yeah, I think that's the only stipple I have ever done by hand. It just takes too long. So that little square you see is a blue crystal overlay, which I drew my little bit of sea, and I was shown how to cameo engrave while at Westdean College. And I went on to really enjoy cameo engraving and still do to this day. I have engraved many pieces, including several in my Bowl of Sea range, which are a very simplified sea and sea birds composition. A lot of my bowls I have specially blown for me, mainly by Steve Bradley, and they are overlays, so layers of crystal over clear crystal, coloured over clear. This is another blue bowl again, and this was a commission of storm petrels for a friend of mine's 60th birthday. It's quite a tricky technique. I've sandblasted the sky a little bit first, and then I've hand engraved the sea and the birds. Roses Are Green is one of my favourite pieces, which I had blown by Steve Bradley. A couple of colours over thick clear crystal, and I have carved these mainly by hand. But I have sandblasted as well, certainly parts of the background, and then semi-polished the background, and then hand engraved the flowers. Going backwards a little bit, my first premises when I came over in the UK was a very rough and ready place in Halesworth, in the industrial park, and it was pretty tatty. And I was very lucky to be able to have wonderful help in setting it up and making it look a bit decent. I bought myself a large sandblaster after a couple of years in the UK, and this has a back hopper and a front hopper. It's really, really good, and it's run with a hydrovane compressor. I use Coral Draw for all of my artwork. And as you can see, that was a simple paperweight. This is a typical commission. This is a typical sort of logo where I've been asked to do several, I think these were prizes or something like that for a sailing club. Yeah, you can see that the sandblasting is quite deep. I get lots of wedding commissions. These are champagne flutes for the top table interesting commission, lettering going all the way around. And these glasses, though they look the same, every one is fractionally different. And so when winding the artwork around the glass, they were not all identical. This is a commission where I went in and I had photographs of the ceiling of a magnificent hall, and I had to translate that into artwork that goes around these 2 whiskey glasses. Underneath the base was a message for the owners of the hall. That was sandblasted, of course, and here is an example where I combine sandblasting and hand engraving. It is absolutely wonderful when you combine these two for coats of arms and that sort of subject, because coats of arms, to me, those tiny little letters in the flags and the shields, they really, really need to be neat. And then anything after that I can do by hand. I was in the same industrial park for 15 years, but I did move around. I moved to various different offices and changed them and added a door. And it was just an interesting journey that I had while in Halesworth. I was very lucky to go with Stephen Pollock Hill of Nazing Glass and to the British Museum to see the Portland vase, which I was absolutely passionate about for some reason, don't know. But before I had been to the museum, I engraved this chalice, which was my version of the story. Every now and again I let my hair down and did something really wacky, because contemporary seems to be the in thing, and as I was doing the Cambridge Glass Fair twice a year, I needed to modern up a little bit. And this strange piece, which was great fun to play with, give it a name, and I sold it the first time I put it out on display. This is a commission that's had to go to America. They just wanted a dramatic dragon with the story. Well, I don't really know the story myself, but with the fiery pearl that it's grasping at. And a lovely goblet to commemorate the wedding of Prince William and Kate Middleton. Of course, you have to get permission to use the arms, which I did, as you can see there, and absolutely loved engraving this. And this is in the collection of Mark Holford. This is the book I mentioned earlier, actually, the collection of Alan Poole and the late Dan Klein. I think it's up in Scotland, the collection, and this was a CGS competition we had, Contemporary Glass Society, that is, where during the Olympics we were all asked to create our own little medal. And this is a commission. It was quite an interesting one on a very, very old, very large hand-blown goblet for the chairman of the glass circle, so he would have really appreciated that chunk of glass. And that is his house on the one side. There was a wonderful lady called Tamsin Emerson in Halesworth, and when she died, she left some money in her will for me to create this piece of glass to be presented every year for the Halesworth Community Project of the Year. The lovely cabinet was made by the Men's Shed in Halesworth. This is a very large piece of medical equipment and a very technical looking item. So for this, I need my computer. I wouldn't do it otherwise. And I make the mask, sandblast, and then I can add all the shadings and highlights that really bring it into life, and at the same time keeping it accurate. I've had several yacht commissions to do over the years, and this one particularly is in America. Several went over to America actually, and I had the base made by Stuart Wiley up in Orkney. He's also an engraver and obviously loves working with wood as well. Does some magnificent work. Of course, that was a yacht going across 3 decanters. And attention to fine detail is often required. This is a commission for an expert on these bees. So you can't make a mistake. You can't make things up. You have to copy exactly. Likewise with this greater horseshoe bat. This gentleman is an expert. And so I think after 60 years of research, I had to make sure that he was quite happy with how I engraved his features. I think he might have noticed if I'd got them wrong. Now, this client, whenever he comes to me, really enjoys the fact that something is hand engraved. So even though for some cases I might scan that lettering, which is his own handwriting, and sandblast it, but in this case I hand engraved it at his request, going all the way around 2 different goblets. Sometimes I combine work with or do a collaboration with another artist, and this lady was a very good artist, and she brought her piece of art to me, her drawings, and asked me to put it on a jug, which I did. It's quite a large jug, and I adapted it to fit the jug and flow around the jug, and it worked really, really well. Simple subjects like these grapes really, really work beautifully on a lovely hand-blown jug, and this is Georgian glassmakers. They make the most magnificent, authentic looking old shapes. I love doing coats of arms, as you know, and this is a window in a very, very large kitchen in a very old house, and that worked really well. I did 2 different coats of arms for them. There is another one in one of the other windows in the kitchen. Churches are often after a bit of glass engraving, but quite often it doesn't get completed because there's so much red tape to go through. This was one that thankfully did go through, and I really enjoyed it. Another church window, obviously the Jubilee, Diamond Jubilee, and I think that looked quite successful as well. So I would have drawn this in the computer first and then sandblasted and then added any shading, as you can see I'm doing by hand. So over the years I have been asked to do quite a few pieces for VIPs and royalty of various countries, and here you see India, Italy, Monaco. Quite fascinating, really, really exciting, I think. An interesting subject. The beginning of February 2021, I had the immense privilege of going to work in Qatar. I had never been there, and it was a member of the royal family there. They were having a wedding, and so I had a wonderful experience staying in Doha and engraving at one of the palaces, over 200 bottles of perfume. So in the meantime, here is my new workshop that I moved to in February 2018, and that is my husband David, who was very helpful obviously in helping set it up and putting shelves and that. And it's in such a lovely place, Henstead Arts and Crafts Centre in Suffolk. And there you can see it's like a little cottage at the back there. Delightful place. There are about 17 different units and a lovely cafe. And I have my workshop upstairs and my showroom downstairs. Upstairs in my workshop, it's not quite as neat as my showroom, and I have my wonderful new micromotor drill from Fordham, which I am very pleased with. And as you can see, I've got my sandblaster up there, which was a little bit hair-raising getting it up there because it's not a very big space. And I've got everything just as I love it. I adore collecting crystal cullets. Really, really juicy to engrave, but I don't always engrave them. I've got several unengraved and really raw, and they are just stunning. I've collected them from France, on trips to France, but also from various factories here, including several from Whitefriars when they closed. And this is one of them which I did for I thought up during the first lockdown, and I wrote down all the funny words that we were all coming out with and the new phrases that have become quite normal now. And I felt that it needed to be recorded on something spectacular. I make crystal jewellery out of broken English blown crystal, hand blown crystal, and as you can see, it has colour overlays as well, and I carve them out and then hand engrave them and then mount them quite often on leather thongs, but these days I tend to mount them on silver. I adore teaching, as you well know, and this Darsham students used to teach them for years and years. Twice a year we had a big get together, and it was just the most wonderful time, simply using a diamond point, that is all. There you see my youngest student, and amongst them my oldest students. The YouTube channel. I have had a channel on YouTube since it first began, and so I have really enjoyed it. It has been a fantastic platform for me to share my work and to help other engravers out there who, like myself, may be in a country where there's nobody to teach them. I also teach in my workshop on a one-to-one basis, and I've had students from all over the world, Gibraltar, France, Scotland, and the furthest was in Tasmania, believe it or not. Absolutely amazing. I really love teaching. And then, of course, my Patreon channel. Absolutely love that. I have just the most wonderful, wonderful people as my patrons. I feel extremely fortunate. And if you are on Patreon watching this right now, you'll be the first to see this, and it will be several months before I release this video out into YouTube. So thank you guys for just being amazing. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little video. As you can see, I make lots of videos, as you know. And here's a flash of a few of the posters that I do for my videos. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye for now.